Hello everyone, welcome to the O7 Academy, where your interest in computer is our goal. In today's video, we'll be looking at a brief introduction to CSS, and we'll be working with CSS in our video today. So, first of all, what is CSS? Well, CSS is an acronym for Cascading Style Sheet, and it's used for styling HTML property. And CSS, we have the property and we have the value, and we have a lot of property that we used in styling HTML element. We have display, padding, margin, and a lot others. Now moving on to our editor to see how this cascading style sheet works. Okay, we will come to our folder. Now we'll be creating a new file here. I'm calling it a.html. Okay. Now there are basic way for actually styling an HTML element. Let me come here and I put an HTML element. I can put body, must be in the body tag, and h1 tag, h2. I can put the O7 Academy. Okay. Now there are various ways I can actually style this, and one of the ways was the HTML styling attributes, which we have looked at. But there is another way also for actually styling this. We could actually come to either our head, and we create what we call the style snippet. Not this one. Yes, this one. Now we could create this, and that is in the head, within the head tag, and we could come here and put what we call h2, and we'll put the curly braces and press your enter key. Then we could put h2. Then we'll have something like, come to our preview to check what we have. First of all, we have black color there. Now we could come here and just put color and blue. Come to check what we have. Now we can see. So that, and this is one of the most easiest way to actually style. Now if you don't want it within the head tag, it can also be within the body tag. No, I want to cut that, so I'll cut it. It could actually be within the body tag, and just put your style there and come and check. Still blue. Now, but most of the time this styling format or using of CSS format is not most time applicable, based on when you are styling a huge number of code, or you are programming a very broad website, something like that. So what we use most of the time, we actually create a different CSS file on its own. Now coming here, after removing the style, now we have, wow, back to black. Now we'll come here, and under the same folder, it must be under the same folder, we can come over here and you can call it new file on that same folder, and call a.css. Well, it's not compulsory that the name must actually match the one with the HTML, but the most compulsory thing is that you must add .css to create the CSS file. And how do we link this up? Now we have a CSS, and this is the logo for CSS, that is the blue and the 3. So if we come here and put something like h2, because we don't need to write that style again, and we come over here, put your curly braces, this is format, and we put a property of color. This is one of the CSS property, and put a value of blue. Now come to our student portfolio. Sorry. Okay, this is where we are. So we can come to our HTML. After you don't run a CSS code from a CSS from a CSS file because it won't work. It's just a basic document, so it won't work. Now let's run to see what we will have. Now what we're having the preview of a snake game that has been placed in this editor. So you run it basically from the HTML. So come over here. We have nothing. Blue is not showing. We don't have the color blue. We don't have the property applying to this. So how do we link this up? Now come above the head. This is only applicable. Head is mostly applicable within the head tag, and we can come here and put link. I remember I used this once in my video and I made a mistake with it. Now you have link. You have your real style sheet. It must have this style sheet. Now this ref is asking you for the location of the CSS file. Now since we have the name here a.css and they are in same folder, take note of that. They must be in same folder. If they are not in same folder, therefore you are making a mistake. You can come here and put a.css, and when we run it now, preview, there we go, we have it. And in case they are not in same folder, you can come here. I don't want to quit on that folder. You can just come here, tap on here, then you see copy path. Basically, if they are not in same folder, you just do that. Then you have something like this. Then when you run, because this is showing you the location, the exact location of where this CSS, so that the HTML might be able to run it very well. So still works. Now another thing you must take note of, this reel must be reading style sheets, because we're actually reading a style sheet format, that is cascading style sheet, that is CSS for CSS. Now I'll be using the div today to tell. In the last video I talked about using of div, or div as a lot of people call it, div container. Now I can come here and I put something like this, div snippet, and I'll put h1 tag, and I'll put something like this, the Heaven Academy, and I can just come here. I'll create another div again, or copy and paste. Now I have two div. One is reading, it has an h1 element for the O7 Academy, and the other have the O7 WhatsApp group. Now coming to our preview to check what we have, if the color is applied, the color is not applied. It's using that because here we have h1, but in our CSS we have h2. So coming here, we change this to h1. Now we have it here. Now someone might say, well, I want the blue to apply to the O7 Academy. I don't want it to apply to the O7 WhatsApp group. Well, that's where the what we call class come in. Now we already have a shortcut for class, so just tap on it. Now we can call this class, you can choose whatever name you want, and call it let me call it A, and I can call and I'll place a class here, and I'll call this class, I'll give this class B. Now coming here, I can come here, and since we have the class, when we run it, we have same thing here. So what we do is that now when working with other selectors such as the H selector, the P selector, when trying to style them in our HTML, we don't add anything, we just write them. For instance, as we have our H1, we just put the H1 there, and we P tag and span and the rest of them. But when we have something like class, or we have ID, which I'm talking about ID after I talked about class, we add, for class we have what we call dots, then we use the ID name for the first one, we use A just to style the first one. Now when we come to our preview, now we have something like this. Because that's one good thing about the div container. The div container enables you to add a property to a single or multiple elements within the div that you don't want it to affect other divs. Now I want it to be in B, but I don't want it to be in C. I can come over here and change here to .b because it's a class, so we must take note of that. I add this. Okay, nice, correct. We must take note of that. Now I have something like this. Now I will say I want my A to be blue and I want my B to be green. I can come over here and change this to A, color blue. Color stand for the text, while background is stand for the background. I can come here and put .b, yes, and I'll come here and I'll put color green. We are giving a property and we have given it a value. So coming to check what we have. So this is it. Now I'll be talking about padding and margin. Okay, first of all, I'll be talking about ID. So I can come here. I don't want to use class. I want to use an ID, but most commonly is commonly used class. When we use IDs, most of the time when we're working with JavaScript. So commonly, I will advise you to use class if working with CSS. But if you find yourself working with ID, JavaScript, and in a very tight project, well, when we use ID, you can come here and put ID. In place of ID, when we come to our preview to check what we have, you see, did not apply. The CSS property did not apply. That's because it does not recognize the dot. So what we put here for an ID, we put an hashtag for you to tell the CSS that look, this HTML property is an ID, not a class. So to read it correctly. Now here we go. Now I'll be talking about for last thing for today's video, border and margin. Now come here and put border. A border is not actually hard. Just a border is just to um see what you are doing, or to place a border around something. You can put 1 pixel solid green to see how much space your element is taking up most of the time. So to our preview, now we have something like this. Now this tells you that this is the space your element is taking up, and it tells you that your element has a padding. Now what's a padding? First of all, I'll come here, and there's something else I would love to show you. It's called the star. Now what this means is that anything you put in here, it affects all your elements. It affects all of them. Now I'll come here and I'll put padding. Padding is just space within an element, whether from the right, the left, up, the top, or the bottom. I'll put padding 0. I'll put margin 0. Margin is also space, but space from the element itself. But padding is from the spacing for the element content. Well, I'll be explaining that. So come to our preview. Now we have something like we have successfully removed all padding from the top, the bottom, left, and the right. So we have a margin of 1 pixel green. I'll come here and adjust any color of your choice. Put red. Now we have it something like that. Margin 0. So I'm talking about what margin mean. Now we're working with A. So I can come here and put margin, and I'll say my margin is, I'm working with pixel, 5 pixel. Now what does this mean? It means that from the outside of the content, that is the border itself, it's having spacing from the top, 5 pixel from the top, 5 pixel from the right, from the bottom, and from the left. Now this can could also be customized by we have something like this. We have the format for this. You can add we have something like this. You can have something like, well, I don't want from the top or from both, I just want from left and right. Now we have something like this. This will be, I'll call it the top, then I'll call here right, then I'll call here bottom. I'm just using text to represent that, and I'll call here left. Well, this you can actually add a four. You can actually add four different padding just in a single line. That's what we call padding, because we also have padding top, padding bottom, but you can also add them just here, singular here. Now I come here and say padding top 4 pixel, and I come here and say no, I don't want in my top, so I just come here and say 0, but I want in my left and right. I come here and say 4 pixel. Well, if you have 0 here as your top, it also affects the bottom without you even putting it, unless you add something to it. And if you have 4 here, it also affects both the left and the right. Now let's see what we have. Now we have something like this. You can see we have 4 pixels from the right and we have from the left. So now you can also have something like this. If you don't want to put it that way, maybe you say that's confusing, I don't get it, but as you work with it, you get used to it. Now we have something like this: margin top, margin left, block. I can tap margin top. We also have button left and right, and I can say I want my top to be 6 pixels. Now you can see we just have from the top. Now when we talk about padding, what are we actually talking about? Padding is talking about the spacing from the content itself of that element or of that tag. Now I can say I want my padding to be 4 pixels. Now as you can see from your text yourself, you have 4 pixels from the top, from the bottom, from the left, and you can't see that from the right because it's just displayed as this. So I want that to be very pronounced. I'll come here and put 16 pixels. Now you can see from the left, from the you can see that from the right, top and the bottom. So that's how it works. Now it can also be arranged as, well, I don't want from the top and the bottom, I want from the right and left. Same thing with the margin. I don't want from the top and the bottom, so 0 for both top and bottom. I want 5 pixels from the left and I want 5 pixels from the right. Now I want that to be very pronounced. I call it 8 pixels. Now we have something like this. We don't have from the bottom, we don't have from the top, just here and here. Now okay, now you can say I want 8 from the left. No, I want 8 from the right and I want 16 from the left. So I'll come here. For the top we have 0, for the right we have 8 pixels, from the bottom please 0, and from the left we have something like 16 pixels. Well, yeah, you can actually see. Okay, let me put something position, so I will see that position is also one of them, one of the um property which I'll be talking about in another video. I'll come here and put absolute so that you see how the exact padding from this element. Now let me remove this other one. I'm moving div B, second div or div element. Now we have here is bigger than here because our left we set 16 and our right we set 8 pixels. So that's all about padding. and that's all about margin and dive and class. So that's all about CS. This is a brief introduction to CSS. I hope I'll see you in our next video. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment if you have any question to ask. Thank you once again for watching.